Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Dr. Kurachi and in this video I'm going to discuss Module 3, Network and Computer Attack. In this module, we're going to describe different types of malicious software and what damage they can do. We're going to discuss methods of protecting against malware attacks, describe the types of network attacks, and briefly, we're going to go over the physical security attacks and vulnerability. Now, malware attacks are initiated to steal data and can be used, or sold for financial gain or to carry out any political agenda, you know. And the word malware usually means it could be virus, worm, Trojan horse. Okay. So the main goal is to make money or cause damage. Now, malware was once targeted at Windows or Linux, only. But right now, they've been written to target tablets, smartphones, and any other internet connected devices. Now, let's start by talking about the virus. A virus basically is a program that attaches itself to a file or another program. They don't replicate itself or operate without, the presence of a host. It does not stand on its own. You know, Viruses can be spread in a number of ways, including like email attachments. Okay, like if you attach it to an email and if the user opened the attachment, the virus is installed on the computer, or it could be like downloaded files. A virus, can be hidden in a downloaded file. So when you open the file, the virus is installed on your computer. Removable media, viruses can be stored on removable media, like USB drives. So when you insert this removable media into the computer, the virus is installed quickly. Now, macros viruses basically, it usually refers to a series of instructions or commands that are recorded and saved for later execution. Macros are commonly used to automate repetitive tasks, or perform complex operation with a single command or keystroke. A good example of macro viruses was, Melissa, which appeared back in 1999. Now, viruses were created by programmers in the past. Right now, you could simply download an application like JPS Virus Maker, and here, if you look at the screen, here, you could check exactly what exactly you want it to do. Like, for example, if you want to disable Windows, or if you want to disable Start button, or disable CMD. I mean, once you select your options here, you click create a virus, and you will have a file. And then it's up to your social engineering skills. You could try to lure the target or the victim into clicking on the file. Now, let's talk about worms. Okay, so a computer worm is a type of malicious software, malware, that is designed to self-replicate and spread across computer networks without requiring any user intervention. You know, Worms, unlike viruses, worms do not need to attach themselves to existing files or programs to propagate. Instead, they exploit vulnerabilities in operating system, network protocols, or other software components to freely spread from one computer to another. And these are very good examples like Stuxnet or Code Red, you know. So usually worm replicates itself multiple times to every user. It infects, and can infect every computer in the world over a short period of time. Imagine like if one computer in closed lab environment with bunch of computers got infected with worm. So this computer will try to infect the others, and others will infect more. So your network will slow down a lot, basically. Some infamous, worms have cost business billions of dollars because of the lost productivity caused by computer downtime and the time spent recovering lost data. In addition to reinstalling programs, reinstalling operating system, in case, in one case, for example, the company will end up hiring uh, people or IT technicians to come in and help, so it is very costly. Now, let's look at the Trojan programs. It is responsible for most really devious attacks against networks and computer worldwide. It usually disguises itself as useful programs. There are different forms of them. Let's look at each one of them. The first one is the backdoor Trojan. It creates a backdoor allowing remote attackers to gain unauthorized access and control over the compromised computer. Once inside, attackers can perform malicious activities, such as, stealing sensitive information, installing additional malware, or using the infected system as part of a botnet. The second one is the keyloggers. It's, a Trojan like this will record keystrokes made by the user, capturing, sensitive information like username, password, credit card details. So this information, of course, will be sent to the attacker who can use it for identity theft or financial fraud. Now, remote access Trojans grant the attackers remote control of an infected systems. This enabled them to perform various actions on the compromised computer, such as viewing screen, and the user is not aware of that, accessing files, controlling the webcam or microphone, and executing commands. Downloader Trojans are designed to download and install even additional malware into the infected system. So basically, they act as a gateway for other malicious software, allowing attackers to expand their control and carry out further malicious activities. Banker Trojans, this is one of the worst type of Trojans because they target online banking systems and financial institutions. They aim to steal the victim's login credentials, banking information, or credit card details. These Trojans often employ techniques like web injection, even modifying web pages to trick users into entering their sensitive information. Now, this is just examples of type of backdoors and which port they use. And this is how, using these ports, they can get inside the victim machine. There are plenty of them. Okay. Now, and spyware. Okay, spyware is a type of malicious software that secretly monitors and collects information about the user activities on a computer or device without their knowledge or consent. It is designed to gather sensitive data and transmit it to attacker or a remote server. The term spyware is derived from its ability to spy on the user's action without the user being aware of that. So what does it do? It steals confidential information, password, pins, or any stored data. What does it? Okay, so what does it do? Like here is some very good examples. It can register each keystroke entered. You know, it can learn about your web browsing habits, including URL, search queries, and page view. It can, view system and application usage, like which programs are launched, how frequently they are used, and the duration of the usage. And the worst part is the personal information. It can steal personal information. Now, uh, it can be installed, by the way, through different means, like if it could be bundled with legitimate software. Okay, derived by downloads, like malicious websites or compromised web pages can exploit security vulnerabilities in browsers or plugins to silently download and install those spyware into the user system. So the most important thing is educate users about the spyware and to be careful about visiting, sites or download any files. Now, this is just like a screenshot of what the victim might see, like, see spyware alert, warning your computer may have spyware or adware installed. To scan your computer for such infection, click yes below. And that's not real, you know, uh, an anti-malware or anything. This is a spyware alert. The second thing here we have adware. This is similar to spyware, by the way. It's installed without user being aware of its presence. And adware means advertising supported software. It's a type of software that displays advertisement, as you see here on the screen to users, often in an intrusive or unwanted manner. Adware is primarily designed to generate revenue for its creators by delivering advertisement and collecting user data for targeted advertising purposes. See, adware is typically not created with intention of causing harm or in some cases stealing sensitive information. However, it can be disruptive and negatively impact the user experience. Of course, when you look at all these screenshots here, that's really, really annoying to the user. Now, let's look at the anti-malware detection technique. There are several techniques here. The first one is the signature-based detection. This is old, but it's still being used. It compares signature and common malicious behavior of known viruses against every file on a computer. Now, the heuristic analysis, this involves examining the behavior and the characteristics of files to identify potential threats. It basically it looks for suspicious behavior or pattern that indicate malware, even if no specific signature is available. Like for example, if a file attempts to modify system settings or replicate itself, the anti-malware software may flag it as potentially malicious. The third one is the behavior-based detection. It uh, In this type of detection, the anti-malware program monitors the behavior of the programs and processes running on the system in real time. It looks for suspicious activities or action that are typical of malware, such as attempting to modify system files, accessing sensitive information, or even communicating with malicious servers. See, the behavior-based detection can help identify new or unknown malware strains that may not have established signature yet. The fourth one is the machine learning algorithm and artificial intelligence. Now, it is used to improve detection capabilities. By training on large data set of known malware, these algorithms can learn to recognize patterns and characteristics of malware. They can then identify previously unseen threats based on the learned patterns. Now, the other one here, we have the sandboxing and virtualization. The anti-malware programs may use sandboxing techniques to analyze suspicious files or programs in a controlled memory environment. Okay. Now, sandboxing involves running this potentially malicious code think about it like in isolated virtual environment to note and watch its behavior carefully. If the code exhibits malicious activities within the sandbox, it is flagged as malware. The last one here is reputation-based detection. Now, some antivirus, anti-malware software incorporates reputation-based detection, which involves analyzing the reputation and the trustworthiness of files, websites, or even software publishers. This is important as well. Now, if a file or website has a poor reputation or is associated with malicious activity, it will be considered as a potential threat. Okay, I want to spend some time talking about educating your users because this is very important topic. The first thing conducting structured training is basically to ensure a strong security culture within organization. It is important to provide structured training programs. These training sessions can cover various aspects of cybersecurity, including best practices, identifying and avoiding common threats like phishing attempts, social engineering, this is extremely important, and password security. Now, includes all employees and management? Indeed, effective security measures require the participation of all individuals within the organization, regardless of their role or level of authority, because this is considered as a collective effort and involving all staff members helps create a sense of shared responsibility and awareness. Now, I like to see a monthly email security updates to all employees. This regular communication and updates regarding security practices are crucial to keep employees informed about potential threats and emerging risks. This ensures that employees stay up to date with the latest security trends, best practices, and other important security incidents or policy changes. You know, recommend virus signature database updating. This should be configured on the server. Like if you have anti-malware server that keep pushing all the active updated signatures or information to the users. Actively phishing employees and sending them to training content. If they click a link they should not click, and this happens, I've seen it happening before. They test the user awareness about stuff like this, and if they fail they'll take a training course, and this is something I strongly support. Now here we have white listing. Okay, now white listing refers to a method or approach that allows only pre-approved or trusted entities to access or perform certain actions within a system. Look at it as a proactive security measure that focuses on explicitly specifying what is allowed or permitted rather than trying to block or restrict specific unauthorized entities or action here. Now, educating your users also, we will continue with this part. There are two popular spyware and adware remover programs like Hitman Pro and Malwarebytes. This is an excellent application. I have used it before, you know. And of course, one of the recommendation for home and small business users to install or activate their software firewalls. Okay, uh, obviously, Some people they cannot afford buying a hardware firewall because it tend to be very expensive, or even installed in Trojan detection system because it requires technical background and knowledge to do so. Now, there's also another thing I want to stress on it is avoiding fear tactics. Now, avoiding scaring users into complying with the security measure, scaring or intimidating users into compliance with security measure is not an effective or ethical approach, by the way. While it may result in immediate compliance, it often leads to unnecessary panic, anxiety, and potentially negative consequences. Users should understand the importance of security measures through education and awareness rather than try to scare them. You know, uh, some unethical security testers, by the way, may resort to fear-based tactics, you know, and these type of things happens during assessments to generate a sense of urgency. However, this can create a negative user experience and harm the trust between the tester and the organization. Ethical security testing should focus on identifying vulnerabilities, providing constructive feedback, and helping organizations improve their security status without resorting to all these fear tactics. Uh, the other one here I would like to mention is promote awareness rather than, fear. A more effective and ethical approach is to promote security awareness among users. Security awareness, annual training, you know, can help them. Okay, can help them try to explain the consequences of insecure behavior and highlight the best practices. Okay, users can develop a proactive mindset towards security. Awareness programs are extremely important and should emphasize the benefits of security measures, such as protecting, your personal data, preventing financial loss to you and to the organization. Okay. Now, built on users' existing knowledge, it means that when designing security training programs or awareness campaigns, it is beneficial to build on users' existing knowledge and experiences. Try to relate security concepts to everyday situations and using familiar, easy language that can make the training into more, easy to understand. Let's put it this way. Now, makes training easier. Training efforts should be tailored to address specific needs, challenges, and behaviors, resulting in a more positive experience for users. Now, let's look at intruder attacks on network and computers. These are common terminologies like attack, any attempt to unauthorized person to access or damage network. This usually happens, when the hacker find, a vulnerability and the hacker wants to exploit it. Now, exploit means refers to the act of taking advantage of security weakness or flaw in a system, software, or network to gain unauthorized access or to perform malicious action. Now, network security. This is concerned with the security of computers or devices that are part of a network, infrastructure. Okay. Devices can be routers, switches, standalone firewall systems, standalone operating, servers, anything like that. Computer security concerned with the security of a standalone computing device that is not part of a network infrastructure. So these are common definitions that you need to understand it. Now let's look at one example of one of the serious type of attacks is called denial of service, DOS attack. Uh, the idea behind denial of service attack is to prevent legitimate users from accessing network resources. Attackers do not attempt to access the information on the remote computer. They just want to take your network down. And there are two types here. DOS attack is from one system with huge bandwidth against another server with a smaller bandwidth to it. And in the DDoS, when you have multiple systems, we're gonna go over this shortly. Let's look at one of the attacks of denial of service called ping of death attack. Now, this is a type of denial of service attack, that sends an IP packet with an oversized payload to a target computer. The oversized payload causes the target computer to crash or to become unresponsive you know it's not as common as in the 90s, and if I recall correctly, it was first discovered back in 1998, and it was made by a famous hacker named Dan Bernstein, something like this. He's the one who wrote this program called Pink Flood that could send oversized IP packets to a target computer. This type of program was used to attack a number of high-profile websites, including, if I recall correctly, Yahoo and CNN. Now, to defend against this, most operating systems right now have been patched to prevent them from crashing when receiving oversized packets here. Now, the result of successful attack using ping of death, it can cause it to crash or to freeze. Okay, so this is used to be a very serious type of attack. Now, let's look at the distributed denial of service attacks. Attack on the host is launched from multiple servers. Here you can see the attacker sending, a signal to the handler, and each one of these handlers will push the notification to the zombies. I would like to call them the zombies here to send, or to flood the network with packets against the target. So, so the network could be flooded with billions of packets, which means the users trying to access the target computer will not be able to do so. They will get, a screen saying, for example, like server is busy. Okay. Now, there is also another concept called dark DDoS attack. It's a smoke screen to distract network defenders, while another more damaging attack is happening at this moment. Now, there's another important type of attacks called buffer overflow attacks. Now, this is the type of software vulnerability exploit when an attacker intentionally sends more data to a buffer or memory space than it can handle, causing the excessive data to overflow into nearby memory areas, like what you see in the screen here. This is a text. Okay. Now, notice how each one of these letters is taken, area and expanding into nearby another memory. So, why does it happen? Well, poorly written code. One of the reasons, you know, concepts called input validation. There's no input validation in this program. Input validation validate and sanitize user input to ensure it fits within the expected boundaries of the buffers and the memory location. Now, in this case here, there's no input validation. So this this text exceeded the limit here to the nearby memory, another memory location. And what is the result? Well, it could, for example, this action result in elevates the attacker's permission to administrator's level, or to create a service that allows the attacker to remotely access the target system. So As a security professional, you want to ensure that the programmers are aware of how their code might be vulnerable to attack. Now, let's look at something that is, I believe this is extremely important. It's called DevSecOps. This is the practice of integrating security testing at every stage of the software development process. It includes tools and processes that encourage collaboration between developers and security specialists, okay, including operation teams, to build a software that is both efficient and secure. Now, I want to show you some example of buffer overflow vulnerability. We're going to take Cisco ASA Internet Key Exchange, and this one was released back in 2016. Discusses a serious buffer overflow vulnerability in a Cisco product line. Attackers could send specially crafted packet to the affected device, allowing them to gain full administrative privilege. You could see how serious is the buffer overflow attack. This attack could be carried out from anywhere on the internet, if it's used on the company's perimeter here. Now let's look at another concept, eavesdropping. Now, eavesdropping is, think about it, it's unauthorized interception of data that is transmitted between two devices, which relies on unsecured network communications here. Means this communication is completely unencrypted, you know. Now can be accomplished using sniffing tools. These sniffing tools are designed to capture copies of the packets being sent across the network. Now, there are other methods that can be carried out using like man-in-the-middle attack. It can be done, like as I mentioned, using network sniffing. Wireless eavesdropping, which is a technique that allows attacker to capture data that's being transmitted over the wireless network. It can be done by using like a wireless sniffer, like Wireshark can do that, for example. Now, to defend against the threat of eavesdropping, all network equipment and application should be forced to communicate only over encrypted protocols. You know, and use only valid and trusted certificates. Now, I want to spend some time talking about man-in-the-middle attacks. Attackers can inject themselves between two parties, as you see it over here. Instead of having direct, connection between the web application and the user, the attacker is the one sitting between them. So any communication between the user and the web application, it will basically go through, uh, the attacker. Now, let me give you some idea about some of the ways that man-in-the-middle attacks can be carried out. The first one is fake Wi-Fi access points. An attacker can create a fake Wi-Fi access point that looks like a legitimate access point. You could do this using Kali Linux. For example, like if you go to a coffee shop, you could create, a fake access point, that matches the existing one. No, also, you could, one other method is the SSL TLS interception. Attacker can use a variety of techniques to intercept SSL TLS traffic. By installing a fake certificate on a target device or by exploiting a vulnerability in the SSL TLS implementation, which happened before. Once the attacker has intercepted the traffic, they can read all of the data that is being transmitted, including passwords, credit card numbers, and other sensitive information. There's also DNS redirection. The attacker can redirect DNS requests for a target domain to a malicious server. When a user tries to access the target domain, their browser will be directed to the malicious server instead. You know, the malicious server can then intercept all of the traffic that is transmitted between the user and the target domain. Now, the question is how to protect yourself? Use VPN. Be careful about, those, especially those public Wi-Fi networks. If you need to use your phone to access your bank account, do not use public Wi-Fi. Use your 5G or 4G connection, you know. And it goes without saying, you need to have a security solution like anti-malware program or firewall to protect you from this type of attacks. Now let's look at the session hijacking. The session hijacking is known as session theft or session sidejacking. It's a type of attack where the attacker intercepts and takes control of a legitimate user session. By obtaining the session identifier, the attacker can impersonate the user and gain unauthorized access. And here, basically, you could see that there's a communication that it is happening between the victim and the server. And the attacker here impersonate the, the victim and start communicating directly with the server. Now, there are several ways that the session hijacking can be carried out, including like session sniffing, which allows the attacker to capture session identifiers, such as cookies, you know, uh, that are used to authenticate users to a website or application. Now, once the attacker has captured the session identifier, they can use it to impersonate the user, as you see it here in the screen, okay, and access the server or the website or the application as if they were the user. So that's what does it mean. Now, there's also another way to do it is using something called session fixation. This is a technique that allows an attacker to force a user to connect to a website or application using a session identifier that the attacker controls. Now, once the user has connected to the website or application using the attacker controlled session identifier, the attacker can take control of the user session. Now, the, the question here is how to protect yourself. It goes without saying, use VPN for secure and encrypted communication. Okay. Second thing, implement strong session management. Like, for example, like generate a strong session identifier. The programmers needs to use long and random and unique session identifier that are difficult to guess or predict. Avoid using predictable patterns or weak algorithm. The other thing here you could do, set session expiration, like what they call it, session timeout. That is automatically log users out after periods of inactivity. And you always see this when you access your bank account. If you forgot to log out, it will cancel your session. The other one is the re-authenticate for sensitive actions. Like if you go to a website and you need to make changes to your account settings, or if you want to, like if you add items into your into the shopping cart and you're ready to pay, you know, uh, the server will prompt you to re-authenticate yourself, even if they have an active session. Of course, enable two-factor authentication. That's extremely important. And there's also another method. This is important, I believe. Employ IP address verification. This means that it will validate that the user's IP address remains consistent throughout a session. So if the IP address suddenly changes, prompt the user for additional authentication. Okay, next we're gonna look into physical security, but we're not gonna go deep into this topic according to the CH12. But I still recommend that you read more about physical security, get an idea about the different physical security countermeasures, because this is a big topic, and at least be aware of the different type of physical security. So protecting a network requires some basic skills, must secure servers and computers from attack within the organization. Now, I'm gonna go over, several things related to the servers. Like the first one here, you have secure location. You need to choose a secure physical location for your data center or servers, preferably in restricted access area. You need to ensure that the area is equipped with the proper environmental controls also, like temperature, humidity control. This is extremely important to maintain the best operating conditions. Now, when it comes to access control, okay, you need to have restricted access. You need to limit the physical access to authorized personnel only. Use locks, biometric system, or better, use combination to secure entrances to server room or even cabinets. Uh, Access logs also, this is important. Maintain logs of individuals who access the server room, have CCTV, okay, pointing at the main entrance of the server room. Okay, so you could monitor and track entry, ensuring accountability. Visitor policies, this is a must. You must implement a visitor policies, such as requiring escorts for visitors, sign-in procedures, and temporary access badges. This is very common thing in big corporates. Uh, Train employees, educate employees on the importance of physical security, including properly handling access cards or keys, not allowing tailgating. Okay, like tailgating when unauthorized individuals follow authorized personnel. It happened before. And you should tell the employees to report any suspicious activities, outside the perimeter and inside. Okay, video surveillance. This is extremely important. You want to ensure there's a cameras cover all entry points and critical areas. You need to store the video recordings in a secure location for a long time and regularly review them as needed. And of course, you should have alarm systems installed in case force entry. Now let's look at the keyloggers. These are very, very serious things here. It could be hardware devices or it could be software keyloggers. It captured the keystrokes on the computer. Software, it basically behaves like a virus or Trojan, and it could be alerted by the anti-malware. The hardware, that's the worst because it could be a very small device that is easy to install. There's a good example like key grabber and key ghost, and here if you look at the screenshot, this is a software keylogger, and you could see that it's capturing some information here. Okay, connected. Everything you type in, it capture it. Okay. Now, it still can be used by organizations to monitor the activity of users on their assigned or computer system that belongs to the corporate. And here's like, this is, for example, like this is hardware keylogger. And, so this is a good example of this one. Okay. Now, behind locked doors, lock up your servers. Average users, by the way, can pick an American home lock in less than 5 minutes. Those who have more time, okay, on their hands, they can pick a deadbolt lock in less than 30 seconds. Rotary locks are more difficult to crack than deadbolt locks. It requires pushing it in a sequence of number bars. Now, a very important thing is using biometric security devices. These are considered an advanced authentication systems that utilize unique physiological and behavioral characteristics of individuals to verify their identity. Biometrics refers to the measurement and analysis of biological or behavior characteristics. These devices leverage these characteristics to establish and confirm the identity of individuals. Common types can be like, fingerprints or retinal scans, iris scans, facial recognition, voice recognition, and more. Now, it can be helpful by providing a second authentication factor. Okay, so but one more thing, I want to make sure that you understand that about the biometric that each individual possess unique biometric attributes that is different them from others. Like for example, like the fingerprints have distinct ridge patterns. Okay, each one of us is different from the others, while retinal scans capture the unique blood vessel patterns, in the back of your eye. So, therefore, the biometric security devices capture, analyze these characteristics to create a biometric template or reference for each individual for next time they try to log in. Okay, so finally, now we went over different type of malicious software and what damage they can do. We discussed different methods of protecting against malware. We described different types of network attacks, and briefly we discussed very few things about the physical security and vulnerability. And finally, I want to thank you so much for watching this video.